Hey, True Believers England team here, and well, it's a different Spirit Awards. We're doing the best comics of all time, not really of all time. We're starting with the Marvel Universe in the 1960s and DC, where it was Marvel versus DC, the whole 9 yards. There wasn't much of a showdown in the Golden Age in the 50s anyway between the two of them. Much to say, Marvel was eating their dust. So I figured, what the hell? We did the nominees. We picked out the nominees. Figured let's do just the same thing, and we're now just picked out the winners. I am sorry this is running late, but I had to help out my daughter earlier today, and that kind of backed everything up. Here to help read off the winners that you guys picked, I have Eric Back Issue Breen. How are you doing?
I'm good, and how are you guys tonight?
Oh, I'm Peachy Keen. My show has already happened. When I'm counting down all the winners and everything, taking all the votes, I get okay. I've got, because I put my vote in as well. I've got dogs in this race, so I was like, oh yeah, oh my gosh, no, oh no, as I'm tallying them up. So yeah, I've already had. I like to read off though, because I want to know your reaction to certain ones. You've heard a couple because you're going to be reading off some as well. Same as VENKMAN. How are you doing today?
I'm still awake.
All righty. Keep on in there, eh? And so, yeah, it's really kind of cool. I'm a little disappointed not everybody who voted for the nominees voted for the winners. So by all means, if you're watching this and you're like, wait a second, I didn't even know you were picking the winners, keep looking. It was a video. We didn't do the, so make sure you jump on, because I'm going to make the video for the 80s and 90s on Sunday, and then next Friday we'll do 80s and 90s, and then we'll do for 2000.
I think you at least had a week in there between, so people, if they really wanted to vote, they could go in there.
Oh yeah, I'm
sure did.
I'm going to put the video out on Sunday, and then we're going to do on Friday. And hello, and how are you guys doing? And let's see who we got in the house. We got Maverick first. LK's and reading the JSA run and forgotten that it was Boys Level Carnage in issue 3. Maybe I haven't read it for a while. Okay. I know I read that first issue, though. Let's see. Hello to Trusty Sidekick. How you doing? And let's see. #1 award show on YouTube. I do agree as well. I absolutely know it's the #1 award show on this channel. And that's what really matters. That is, my friends, what really matters. So I've got to admit, there are some surprises here, Breen.
Let's get to it.
Yeah, we'll start off, and I got to tell you, well, we'll get to it. All right, so we're going to start off. Naturally, we did the 1960s first, and the first category was Best Artist of the 1960s, and the nominees were Gil Kane for basically everything, and Jack Kirby for basically everything for Marvel, Joe Kubert, Carmine Infantino, and John Romita. And let's face it, guys, this is Jack Kirby's decade. I mean, he created the Marvel Universe. He helped create the Marvel Universe, which is why I'm freaking shocked that he didn't win. The winner of the 1960s Best Artist goes to John Romita.
Wow.
For his work on Spider-Man. Dude, 1 vote. By 1 vote, man. And we've got ties here. So we count ties.
So I threw my vote away because I was so sure he was going to win.
You voted for Gil Kane.
Yeah, well, I had nominated him, so I kind of felt like I should.
Yeah, but it was I remember that. Now I voted Kirby. But you know what? John Romita, his look on Spider-Man, it's iconic. It's iconic. You can't get past that. And as much as you could talk about the creative force behind creating he did Spider-Man perfect. I mean, am I wrong about that? I don't think so.
I want to say I want to say that I nominated him, but there's a lot of my nominations got shot down. I can't remember.
Right. Well, that's how Maranya felt as well. Let's see. I Love Comics. I bid $1 for RDV. I know an old lady who needs a pool boy. Okay.
Well, I might have to cultivate it. Just make sure she leaves some money on the table first.
So there you go. And Christopher Barks saying hello to Englantine and Breen. Also RDV didn't get any comics today. Instead, Iron Maiden Fear of the Dark. Good album, by the way. And Black Cat says it's a disgrace. Maranya saying, "Yay, Romita won."
Exactly.
Yep. There you go. No disagreement from Maverick. And there you go. I was kind of shocked. I thought this was 100%. That this was 100% Jack Kirby, but no.
Dude,
along with him, Gil Kane got 1 vote. As well as Carmine Infantino, which now I remember, wait a second, I didn't vote for Jack Kirby. That Carmine Infantino was my vote. So there you go. All righty. So let's move on. I do believe, VENKMAN, you've got the next category.
All right. The best writer from the 60s. We got nominees are Stan Lee, Gardner Fox, Bob Haney, Roy Thomas, and John Broome. And the winner, the best writer of the 1960s, is Stan Lee.
Okay, this one, no contest. It's almost to the point of why did we even bother nominating 4 other people? Seriously.
Well, we thought we were doing that with artists, so it's.
I know, right? This was absolutely no contest. It's 6 votes were between Roy Thomas, the number 2 guy, and Stan Lee, which actually kind of surprised me. Roy Thomas was number 2, considering what everybody else had done. Jim Sorensen, I missed the voting. It was up for a week, dude. England team won division. Okay, we'll talk about that on another show there, Chris. All right, so yeah, but yeah, we're gonna do for 1980 and 1990. I'm gonna have the video up on Sunday, so and we're gonna do that show next Friday as well. So there will be a week worth of voting, and I'll put out more reminders and everything on Twitter and everything, so you could get at it a little bit better. But Stan Lee versus Gardner Fox, Bob Haney. What do you say about all that there, Breen?
You know, it had to be Stan Lee. I mean, you know, with apologies to, you know, the other 4, he actually wrote more than Jack Drew. So I mean, he was at one time he was practically writing the entire Marvel output, and you know they've all stood the test of time. So I mean, I know. No arguments with that.
No arguments. No.
Apart from Stan Lee, I only know Bob Haney and Roy Thomas. I've never heard of the other 2.
Well, John Broome actually introduced the Silver Age. He is the guy who wrote The Flash, Barry Allen, The Flash. So you want to talk about something, you know, something that was big. He basically did introduce us to the Silver Age of superheroes and comic books. What we consider the start of it was. Showcase number 4. I got that right? Yeah. Showcase number 4. So even you might not recognize the name, but holy crap, you recognize the work.
Well, yeah, that's, I mean,
if we'd started in the 50s, he would have had a much better shot at winning.
Probably so.
As would Infantino. I just read a 50s Infantino story, and he you know, none of the, you know, bizarre, angular, you know, type style he adopted later was noticeable. He was a straight ahead, you know, really good artist back then.
Yes. I'm a big fan. All righty. So we're going to go to you, Eric.
All right. The category is Best Marvel Comic of the 1960s. And the nominees are Tales of Suspense, Iron Man, and later Iron Man and Captain America, Fantastic Four, Amazing Spider-Man, Strange Tales, which started as the Human Torch, went to the Torch and Thing, Doctor Strange, Nick Fury, and Thor. And folks, we have a tie.
And the winners are
Millie the Model, Fantastic Four, and Amazing Spider-Man.
Yeah, man. We were talking in the back. Should we do something to pick a solid thing? But no, you got.
And Jim, you could have solved the tiebreaker, but you didn't vote.
Jim Sorensen could tie here, right? What's up? We're blaming him for it, right? Ed Brewer saying tough. ASM or FF? Give me ASM. Here you go. You can have both. We talked about actually how do we come up with something, but in the end, you guys voted. That's what it ended up being. But as Zach Richmond is pointing out, two very solid titles.
Yeah, this is a tie I don't mind breaking.
Unless you're an Iron Man.
Because I had a
fan.
hard time picking between one or the other.
Yeah. LK saying Team FF. I'm Team FF as well as Breen. Venkman is Spider-Man. It's
Go Web, go.
fun, but,
Nothing else belonged in the conversation as good as the other stuff was.
Not even Iron Man?
Yeah.
No.
Ouch, out of
Sorry,
3 votes
Maranya.
so far, I got the first 2 right, said Maranya. Well, I know what you would have voted for, Maranya, and I know what you did vote for. The others, there was absolutely no love for Strange Tales. So sorry, Dalton. I hope you're listening, but your boy didn't get the votes. Tales of Suspense, starring Iron Man and Captain America, got 2 votes with 1 to Thor. So that's how it broke down as far as that's concerned. But Fantastic Four to me is a great title because it's basically Challenge of the Unknown with superpowers in the beginning.
And also a who's who of characters that are still being used to this day.
Yeah. I mean
major characters.
4 issues in, and we get what should have been one of the nominees for Best Character of 1960s. But that, I'm not bitter. Anyway. AMC got me hooked as a kid, but FF is so good, says Breen. Spidey, Venkman, JK, Amazing Spider-Man over here.
Did you say AMC?
Yeah. Did I say AMC?
He did, and he said Breen, so...
Well,
hey, he's close to 50.
I'm the one that's tired, too.
Let him go.
Thank you.
and he's having involuntary spasms now.
There you go.
Poor man.
I guess so. But at least I get to do the next category. And I'm happy about this because, as much as I love Marvel, I am a huge DC comic fan. And this is the best DC comics of the 1960s. And there were some great books. I mean, if you're reading 1960s, there's some good books to read. Green Lantern, Justice League, Adventure Comics, which was Legion of Superheroes back in the day, Teen Titans, and The Flash. And the winner is, and I'm telling you, this was like, blew my head because I thought I was the only one who loved them that much. And that is Adventure Comics, starring Legion of Superheroes.
What?
Once again, by 1 vote.
Was Green Lantern second?
No, Justice League was second. And then Teen Titans was third, The Flash, and then Green Lantern.
Wow.
Yeah. But hey, all great books, but I was actually kind of shocked because I love Legion of Superheroes.
That's okay. Hal Jordan's the underdog. He's turns out better.
From the very beginning, I was a huge fan. And then, of course, when Shooter took over and everything, and to me, it was just, this is the book I will live my life, reading. And I didn't know that they were going to give it to Bendis and just make me a liar to myself. But
way to go, Maranya.
Hey, Legion of Superheroes was one of there were so few continuing stories at DC in those days. And Legion of Superheroes actually gave you some. Hell, the only other one I can think of is Justice League 21 and 22. Because even they were pretty much one and done across the board. So I voted for Teen Titans, but I have no problem with Adventure winning. Yeah,
Teen Titans are a lot of fun. The one thing that lost out for me was the dialogue, and that's why I went Legion. Well, that and because I love both Teen Titans and the Legion. But in the end, my goodness gracious, what a great title! And you have stuff like the Sun Eater story with Pharaoh Lad, the death of Triplicate Girl, Lightning Lad sacrifice, which we find out is actually Proteus or Prote. There are so many good stories in the Legion and in the Silver Age. Granted, there's a lot of what I call Silver Age silliness, but that just adds to the fun of the times. And huge win for the Legion, says Ed Brewer. And I was mostly Marvel in the 60s, said Ed. Well, that's understandable. I'm pretty sure a lot of people kind of made the switch. All righty. Venkman, you've got next.
All right. So we're going with the independent comics. And the nominees were Thunder Agents, Turok, Son of Stone, Archie, Dr. Solar, and Star Trek: The Gold Key edition. And the winner is, well, I guess, obviously, Archie.
Not so obvious, my friend. Look, hey, seriously, Archie is a lot of fun, and we most of us grew up on Archie. And I mean, I talk about how before I was really into superheroes, I loved the Archie books, I love the Harvey comics, and so forth and so on. So obviously, they have a huge impact, and also you got to take into the factor of what Ed Brewer's saying. I only knew Archie,
And that's why I voted for it too.
Yeah. That being said, enough people knew, like Eric Breen, the Thunder Agents.
Well, I know a Turok, but see, I like Turok as a video game for Nintendo 64.
Yeah, and for Valiant Comics. And hello to Dominic Powell. How are you doing, sir? Breen, you picked Thunder Agents.
Yeah. Well, I mean, had Gil Kane, Steve Ditko, Wally Wood, Reed Crandall, all did work on that series. And, the stories were, of their era, but it had a lot of talent on that, on that book. And it was fun. I mean, it just, I again, not going to, complain, because Archie is a good pick.
Yeah.
But, that's what I said. My mind just went to superheroes. And I said, I have all the trades of that now. So
they don't do a lot of actual trades of Archie. They'll do like the best of the 50s, best of the 60s, but not like you would where it's like big old omnibus.
There was a hardcover collection that started back in the 40s. Mm-hmm. And, there's about 11 or 12 volumes published, and they started over with paperbacks and then just quit after 3.
That's something. Hey, Ash, how you doing?
What's going on, people? You started without me.
Hey, I was late already. What do you want, man? But hey, you feel free to comment as we go. I do believe, however, no vote, man.
No, I was just kidding. Obviously, you got to start when you start. I was making dinner, so glad I could participate in part of this.
Yeah, but remember, you can't complain if you didn't vote. All righty, so
I can complain.
Just to help out Dominic, and to catch everybody up, we have announced already. We're on our 5th category right now. First was of the 1960s, Best Artist, which went to John Romita for Spider-Man. Best Writer which went to Stan Lee for the entire Marvel Universe. Best Marvel Comic, which went to a tie of Fantastic Four and Amazing Spider-Man. And Best DC Comic, which went to Adventure Comics, which was Legion of Superheroes at the time. And then we just did Best Independent Comic, which went to Archie. Alrighty. So that brings us to Best Story Arc. Eric, what you got?
Okay, Best Story Arc of the 60s. And the nominees are The Coming of Galactus, Fantastic Four, 48, 49, and 50. Even an Android Can Cry, Avengers 57 and 58. If This Be My Destiny, The Amazing Spider-Man, 31 through 33. Crisis of Two Earths, featuring the Justice League and Justice Society in the aforementioned Justice League 21 and 22. And Zatanna's Search, which appeared in The Atom 19, Hawkman 4, Green Lantern 42, Detective Comics 335 and 355, and Justice League 51, and collected in trade. And the winner is The Coming of Galactus, Fantastic Four, 48, 49, and 50.
I was worried about this one for a while because I knew you really liked that Coming of Galactus. You bring it up like it was your last name in other live streams. So I was thinking, okay, I know, Breen, I know you want to win this one to win. Not my pick. My pick, but yeah. What were you gonna say, Venk?
It's a sad day when fishnets stockings do not win a category at all.
Dude, you always got to vote for the porno.
Whoa! Zatanna's not porn.
Yeah,
no, the one that won.
Yeah. Right. Brewer saying Galactus is my favorite all time. So, and Zach is saying, come on, Justice League. Well, just to give you a little heads up, there's only one storyline that received 0 votes. And I'm sorry, but it made that android cry. I was actually surprised at that one. The first appearance of the Avenger, that storyline didn't get any votes. Next up, sorry, Zach, the next lowest was Crisis. And then If This Be My Destiny, I was actually surprised. I thought that one was going to take it, tell you the truth. What with it being Spider-Man and everything. But second place, Zatanna's Search. People do like that stalking magician there, as you put her, you call her. But no, Coming of Galactus is just a classic.
Well, care to divulge your choice?
Zatanna.
Oh, you did vote for that?
I voted for Zatanna's Choice. I did one of the videos that I allowed on my channel to kind of promote other channels was Unranked Chevron. He did a review of that, and it kind of made me want to get into it a little bit. And then that's where one of the first origin stories I did for Comic Book Origins was Zatanna, which is the first chapter. So I figured, go right along, and it's just a fun story. It really is. And I think it's a little bit darker going along in some chapters, and I just appreciate it a little bit more. But Coming of Galactus, you cannot oversell it. I think it was one of the first comic books of the Silver Age that showed what comic books could do.
Well, and one of the things, one of my favorite parts of that story was Stan and Jack didn't conform to issues necessarily, because that really started halfway through 48 and finished halfway through 50. And the second half of that issue is Johnny going off to Metro College. And the first half of 48 was wrapping up the Inhumans adventure. Mm. So I said that would never happen today. But those about two issues, in between, as you said, I mentioned that from time to time.
There you go.
It seems fitting that the person who won the best writer should have the best story.
Well, there you go. That is actually that's pretty cool.
It's a salient point.
All righty, so I'm up next, and I've got Best New Character of the 1960s, and we have the nominees are the Ever-Loving Blue-Eyed Thing, the Incredible Hulk, the Amazing Spider-Man, Daredevil, and Thor. And the winner is, by a large margin, and that is Amazing Spider-Man. And I'm talking by friggin' far.
Hell yeah.
You want to talk about another one where we might as well have not nominated anyone else? It was absolutely a landslide. We only had about 20 or so people vote this time around, which is kind of disappointing. Like I said, we have more people doing the nominees than we did that, but we had only 2 votes for the number 2, and the number 2 was a tie between the Thing and Daredevil. Not to say who I voted for, but I didn't win. And then Thor got 1 vote, and there was no love whatsoever for the Incredible Hulk. None.
Incredible loser.
But I think Amazing Spider-Man, he was the teenage superhero. He wasn't a sidekick. He was the one that kids related to. And let's face it, he's the face of Marvel Comics right up until Robert Downey Jr. decided to play Iron Man.
And let's be honest, if they did a comic book character Mount Rushmore, Spider-Man's the only shot Marvel has of being represented on that.
I think about that. It's the Trinity and it's Spider-Man.
Yep. The only one I said, the only possible exception I said, if you just go by strictly Americana, is maybe Archie Andrews could give Wonder Woman a run for her money.
I disagree. Jared Stevens would be on there.
I would believe it. I would actually believe in that, but they would want a female character up there. So
there is that.
Yeah. So would it be She-Hulk then?
You know what I would do to solve that? I would make it Batman, Wonder Woman, Superman, Spider-Man in that blank spot that they put Donald Trump's head in when they tried to make it look bad. I'm like, do you realize you just, but yeah, that spot right there, I think that would be a perfect place for Archie or whomever. Yeah. Hello to Bunderdome. What's going on? Let's see what we're saying. If this be my, okay, we got that. Spidey, hey, okay, Energize. Okay, there we go. All righty. So we're going to close up the 1960s here with best movie casting. And you guys may have noticed that I did change things around just a little bit, played around with the categories from what we were nominating. It's because I realized there was no symmetry to it, and also that we forgot certain categories for certain decades. So yeah, I added and did one subtraction. So anyway, that being said, VENKMAN.
All right, the best movie. I guess we're going with casting still. I think because you told me to change it to acting.
Well, acting. Yeah.
Yeah.
Casting meant acting. So
Yeah, all right.
we'll go with acting.
All right, the nominees were Patrick Stewart, Professor X, Robert Downey Jr. for Iron Man, Christopher Reeve for Superman, J.K. Simmons as J. Jonah Jameson, and last but not least, Wesley Snipes as Blade. And you guys chose actually, surprisingly, a tie. Robert Downey Jr. and Christopher Reeve. I can't really choose between those two.
I could.
I like them both great.
Yeah, you're right. They absolutely are, and they embody. They are two actors that embody their characters. I'm going to say this though: this was only a 3-dog race, and it was a 3-dog race right up to the end. And that the only other person to get any votes, and I'm telling you, this is another one by 1 vote. This guy was left off of being a 3-way tie. That is J.K. Simmons for J. Jonah Jameson.
Wow.
Otherwise, I was watching this. Now, I think that Christopher Reeve is amazing as Superman, and it's hard for me to actually say that anybody could be as good as he was for only that one scene where he shows us how it is possible for Superman to fool everybody around him into thinking Clark Kent and Superman are two different people. But he does great all the way throughout it. He looks like Superman. And so it was amazing to me, but I can't lie to myself and say that Robert Downey Jr. doesn't deserve the same accolades.
I'll just say it. I like it that one's a DC, one's a Marvel, so it fits well for me.
Oh, there you go. How about you, Ash? Where would you have sat on this particular one?
Oh, even though I nominated Chris Hemsworth for Thor, didn't make it. I do think Robert Downey Jr. is the most inspired casting in comic book movie history. I mean, you take a guy that was out of the that's another thing people remember. This guy was out of the industry. He wasn't just like some actor sitting around going, "Hey, well, my agent gave me this script." No, it was like no one wanted to cast him. He was a black sheep, and Marvel was like, "This is the guy that's right for the role." And Christopher Reeve, fantastic Superman, but I would pick him as a better performance, not necessarily better casting. Robert Downey Jr. probably is not the better performance, but the casting is sublime. It's just there's no one on the planet that could have fit the role the way he did.
Fair enough.
In my opinion.
Well, actually,
okay. Let's hear it. Go on ahead.
I was going to say, no, I voted for Robert Downey as well. So I mean, but one thing about Christopher Reeve is he played 2 characters in one of a character that already had a pop culture saturation, and he made you believe in both of them. Most of the world had never heard of Iron Man when that came out. So, what Christopher Reeve was able to pull off, at least in the first one, can't be understated. Yes, and I guess that's why it ended up in a tie.
Well, certainly, I don't disagree with that, but I think that's conflating performance with casting.
Yeah, well,
performance is before you actually even shoot a screen.
I got to admit, when I said casting, I was meaning performance.
Oh, okay.
Because obviously, I mean, nobody knows the thought process behind casting, so we don't know. But we do know that basically, when you get a performance as good as even Wesley Snipes or Patrick Stewart, who both of them walked away on this particular contest with not 1 vote between them, when you get something like that, I wouldn't say either one of them did a bad job. I think both of them belong on this list, and I can only add to it. We of course had to subtract, but this is just. I mean, you could have put Hugh Jackman up there as well for Wolverine, which I would have said right away. No, as a matter of fact, I did. The man's like 9 feet tall. I wanted Gary Sinise in the role. But here we've got J.K. Simmons losing out by 1 vote on the tie. You could have been the tiebreaker there, Ash. But Christopher Reeve, Robert Downey Jr., incredible roles, both of them. If Robert wasn't cast as Iron Man, he wouldn't have lived much due to his drug problem and alcoholism, says Maverick. And Marania's pointing out that she has picked all but one of the winners in the 1960s. So there you go. Let's see how you do in the 70s. Yep.
Yeah, Marvel Studios did not want to insure Robert Downey.
And why would
you? And they paid him peanuts compared to more than the two Chris's got for their first role, but they only you got $500,000 to do that.
Wow. And off of that movie, they built the Marvel Universe. Go figure. Yeah, but by the end of the Marvel Universe,
he was tipping $500,000.
Well, I like the first movie. He actually, when they sat down with from Fargo, they actually were going with Stan Lee and actually going looking at like Iron Man stuff, reading up on it stuff. Where I kind of feel like the next one goes kind of like, all right, we're just gonna whip something together. No pun intended. For the Iron Man movie.
Right. Okay, so we're on to Eric. We're moving on to the next decade, ladies and gentlemen. This is the decade of my birth and the decade of my birth as a comic book reader.
First appearance of Engleteen.
Yes, the first appearance of Engleteen, July 29th of 1970. All right, but Eric, what do you have for us?
All right. For Best Artist, 1970s, the nominees are Neil Adams for Batman, Avengers, X-Men, John Byrne, Iron Fist, X-Men, Doomsday +1, was it? John Buscema, Conan, Avengers, anything else you can think of, he probably drew at one time or another. Fantastic Four, etc., etc. George Perez, pretty much the same, but yeah, Avengers, Fantastic Four. Bernie Wrightson, Swamp Thing, and various horror vignettes throughout DC's horror line. And the winner is, you know him, you love him.
And he says a
Neil
lot
Adams says.
There you go, Neil Adams. Bleep, the winner says. And guys, it wasn't a contest. This was not a contest at all. You got the next one up was John Buscema, and it was by 7 votes. It wasn't a contest on this one. A little nod to John Byrne and a couple of pity votes for George Perez and Bernie Wrightson. It was really exactly like that. But come on, you got to admit, Neil Adams drew the freaking 70s DC. I mean, he revived Batman, or helped to anyway.
And he was, I mean, he was so good that it took him a while to break in, because fans did not want that style of art.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, it kind of left out Green Lantern, Green Arrow too when I was giving his accolades. But yeah, it's, and it's weird. He has the distinction of being the artist on, Green Lantern and Green Arrow when it was canceled, and the X-Men when it was canceled. Again, there was a time, when he was doing it, he wasn't appreciated nearly as much as he ended up being, later on.
Well, at least he did. At least people came around and was like, okay, yeah, Neil Adams, I get it now. It's really good. I'm like I always say, man, the Batman stuff. Imagine
a time when somebody say, would look you in the eye and say, well, no, I prefer Kurt Swan to Neil Adams. And there was a time when his style was more, comic appropriate to the readership. And then Neil Adams, comes with this photorealistic stuff, and it's like, huh?
I actually voted for Perez in that one.
Perez?
It says a lot when you have to really kind of dumb down your art because you're too good so that people can appreciate you. Like, you're just, excuse me.
Well, at the very least, it had to have been some sort of signal that all characters should not be drawn the same way. With Batman, you do need somebody willing to put more of a darker spin on it, or at least a certain story starring a certain character should have a different look. And back in the 60s and 70s, there was a DC art style.
Well, do you remember where Stan Lee got our 60s winner from?
John Romita?
Yeah.
Where?
He plucked him off of DC's romance line. Because in those days, war, science fiction, horror, whatever passed for horror, more like science fiction, and romance had the better artists because they were appealing to a different sect of readers. The comic book readers which, you know, the superhero comic readers, which skewed younger, just liked that simple style.
Awesome. That's pretty cool. All righty. Well, I've got best writer, and now something confusing happened on the writer thing. I had to add on a different name because I looked over and it said the nominees are Chris Claremont, Denny O'Neill, Jerry Conway, Marv Wolfman, and Roy Thomas. But 3 people wrote in Steve Englehart. So I had to add on another one, Steve Englehart, just to accommodate those 3 people. And go figure, he still didn't win. But it was just kind of a surprise to me. And in all honesty, Steve Englehart is pretty freaking awesome in the 70s. So, okay, there you go. But the nominees were Chris Claremont, Denny O'Neill, Jerry Conway, Marv Wolfman, and Roy Thomas. And the winner was very close. And this is another one by 1 vote, Denny O'Neill. Boom. Batman wins, gang. Green Lantern, Green Arrow wins, and the X-Men fall on that one. I was surprised at this one. I thought just based on the X-Men alone, Chris Claremont was going to have it.
I can get behind that choice, and I'm an X-Men fanatic.
Denny O'Neill, yeah. Well, he wrote some of the most iconic stories in the 1970s. What do you have to say about this one, Breen?
I would have been happy with any of the ones. I think I might have been one of those 3 idiots that wrote in Englehart.
You were?
But I guess I had in my head that, you know, he had gotten nominated, and or, you know, I couldn't let it stand that the only story I remember even close to as much as The Coming of Galactus is his Detective Comics run. I said, by God, if you're not going to nominate him, I'm going to nominate him myself.
Yeah, well,
that's right.
I'll tell you what, Steve Englehart, as a writing candidate, got more votes than Jerry Conway. As a matter of fact, they got 3 more votes than Jerry Conway.
Man, it's like the primary election going to vote.
I think my modern perception of that man might have hurt him. Now, Neil Adams is just too much better than everybody for it to have hurt him.
So is Denny O'Neill, is that the brother of Dennis?
It's Denny.
So anyway, the
it says Dennis on the thing
though. The only one it was let's see, it was almost a tie between Chris Claremont and Denny O'Neill. And let's face it, the Batman story, he wrote Tales of the Demon. For that, he wrote Road Trip. He wrote what was it called? Snowflake or whatever it was. Snowflakes, I believe, was the name of the storyline for the drug issues.
Oh yeah, I don't know the exact how, but yeah, you're right.
The drug issues of Green Arrow and Green Lantern. He did some iconic stories in the 70s. You can't take this away from Dennis O'Neill or Denny O'Neill. He really did some great work, and he got yelled at by the women's liberation movement thanks to his depowering of Wonder Woman. So you can't take that away from him either. But I think it was a great win. Chris Claremont is second place. And if either one of those won, I would have been like, okay, yeah, because the 1970s X-Men go all the way up to, I want to say, the beginning of Dark Phoenix, or right around the beginning of Dark Phoenix. So you've got at least, what was that, 94 to 130-ish?
Yeah, close to 40 issues by then. So, and he wrote Iron Fist, which is a very appreciated series. So he did some work.
Good.
And
stuff.
he wrote a good chunk of the Marvel team ups that he and Byrne collaborated on, and those are pretty memorable.
Well, that's another thing that I consider in my opinion, the early Chris Claremonts that I like are all when he collaborated with Byrne. Like Chris Claremont pre-Byrne to me seems like a whole different person after Byrne. Like I credit John Byrne for taking Chris Claremont to a new level.
All right. Hey, I can actually say I think the X-Men got better during that. I mean, no disrespect to Cockrum, but I do think they got better with Byrne in Claremont.
Well, Cochran wasn't writing though. I mean, Byrne was helping Claremont write.
Well, yeah, and they'd had the 15 issues of Iron Fist before that, and a handful of team ups when Byrne got the X-Men assignment. So, which I'm sure Claremont had a lot to do with bringing him on because they were practically joined at the hip in the 70s.
Yeah.
Ed Brewer saying, Denny, congrats. Batman always wins, says Black Cat. Yes, Maranya says, my vote put Denny over the O'Neill over the top. So,
well, someone's feeling themselves tonight.
I guess so. Yeah, she's going, I was that one vote. So I narrowed the gap to only one vote. Damn it, says LK.
Wherever she is, she's probably holding up a sword going, I am the power.
I win. Yay. And Black Cat's reminding me that the story was called Snowbirds Don't Fly. I remember Snowflake was in there somewhere, but I guess it's Snowbird.
That's the New Warriors.
I know. I'm just so jazzed up for that New Warriors thing. So, Venkman, what do you have? What do you have for us?
All right, we're going with the best Marvel comic. And the nominees were the Marvel Team Up, Amazing Spider-Man, Avengers, Iron Man, and Captain America. And you guys all voted for Avengers.
Yeah, you guys all voted for Avengers. I didn't know you guys did. What?
Did it win by one?
No, this one won heartily. The let's see, second place was a tie between Marvel Team Up and Amazing Spider-Man, 3 votes each, and then we had Iron Man and Captain America with 2. So it was definitely an Avengers clear win. But come on, we had to decide over what iconic story to put in. Was it going to be the Korvac saga? Was it going to be Kree Skrull War? You know,
Celestial Madonna.
There you go. There's so much goodness in the Avengers in the 1970s. My goodness gracious, ladies and gentlemen, Ms. Marvel slept with and then birthed her own son in that order. So yeah, there's amazing stuff.
I thought she was raped.
Avengers. What?
I thought she was raped.
Well, she was under mind control. But
yeah.
Hey, considering most of my nominees got nuked by you heathens, I feel good picking the winner, said Moran. I voted for my guy, but I could live with Avengers winning.
I voted for Spider-Man, but I figured with this crowd, you guys are all old school Avengers.
Well, you know, Spider-Man had the death of Gwen Stacy, the Harry Osborn Green Goblin, you know, and then it was consistently good throughout the rest of the decade. But you know, Avengers had a great story in 71, in 74, and in 77. So it, you know, pretty much covered the entire decade.
You can say what you want. I'm just biased to Spider-Man.
Yeah, but the Spider-Man vote was split.
I know.
Between Amazing and Marvel Team Up. They both got 3. And I've got to admit, I am one of the Team Up 3.
Combined together.
That would have been that was my second choice.
Yeah.
Because of just how many good fun stories there were, but none of them were as impactful as the 3 Avengers storyline. So I had to give that my vote.
Okay.
The one where Hank slapped Janet.
No, that was after.
That was in the 80s.
Oh, that was the 80s. Oh,
yeah.
Breen is just biased for the Avengers. Come on.
There you go. I voted for Marvel Team Up because of those Byrne Claremont collabs, says LK. And if Breen had his way for Independent, he would have voted the Gold Key Flintstones. We all know that. It's the story of his life. But speaking of Breen, what do you got going for us next?
So I guess you want me to yabba dabba do this one.
Yabba dabba dabba do now. Yabba dabba dabba do now.
Best DC comic of the 70s, and the nominees are Detective Comics, starring Roy Raymond, TV detective, Batman, Justice League, Brave and the Bold, and World's Finest.
So it's basically just Batman right up the line.
Let's see, bat. Yes. So I'm going to say, and the winner is Batman, and then whatever you guys voted for, you can claim victory.
There you go, basically, right? No, the winner actually was
Batman.
There you are. My thinking was this is Tales of the Demon versus Strange Apparitions almost, based on great stories that were being told. Steve Englehart, the write-in writer versus Denny O'Neill, and I can't fault this. I can't fault this one at all. Batman is a great book in the 1970s, but Batman does appear in all of the nominations of the 1970s for DC. Okay, I thought you would take that away there.
I was going to say, I said that is the most impactful story of the 70s. Was because it put Batman squarely back on the map. No, I got sidetracked in my head because I think we're talking about Denny O'Neill just winning for best writer. And one of the other stories I would say you could put in that category was Kryptonite No More, and he wrote that also. So he had a heck of a decade. But no, I said the rest of I said Brave and the Bold, fun stories throughout the entire decade. Yep. Same with World's Finest. Detective had the Englehart Rogers run. In Justice League, they also they brought Englehart in to grow it up a little bit, and he stayed for a year. But again, can anybody just off the top of their head point to a great story in any of those other three books? But like I said, everybody remembers the Tales of the Demon, so that gives Batman a definite advantage.
Well, let's be honest here, though. It created a villain that's timeless. I mean, Ra's al Ghul is just an amazing villain, still being used today. Was in, as a matter of fact, just was the villain for Batman and the Outsiders. Darkness Comes asking, where and when does the voting happen? It happens right here on this channel. On Sunday, I'm going to post the video for voting for the 80s and the 90s. We did the nominees already, so I'm just going to post what the nominees were, and then I'll keep out for a week. I'll do a little more advertising about it and keep reposting and posting. Please share so we could get as many votes as possible. That always makes it more of a race, more of a question like who's going to win. But yeah, it's here and anybody could vote. So
do you have the totals? Did you read those off when I wasn't paying attention, like how close the vote was?
Okay, so Batman. The second place after that was a tie between Brave and the Bold and World's Finest. And then Justice League and Detective Comics came in last with a tie at 2 votes each. But Batman won by 3 votes between Brave and the Bold and World's Finest in itself. So
I would have said the reason why I would make a case for Detective Comics is in just those 6 issues, he dusted off Hugo Strange from issue 1, who's been used ever since. And he brought back Deadshot, which I believe was from Detective Comics issue 50.
Yeah, and he had a top hat and a cane, and he was nothing like what he is now.
And so I mean, that was a lot to get done in 6 issues. Plus, give us, I said, arguably, the Secret of the Laughing Fish. That 2-part story that closed. The 2 of their collaboration. Everybody remembers that story. I believe that might have been in. That was one of the covers for the 80th anniversary was a tribute to that story.
That's why when I put on the video, I put the covers and I tried to get in enough, at least 4 or 5 covers from each thing that would tell. Ed, the reason why I won't do a Twitter poll is it gives the answers right then and there. And I want the answers to be here. Because if it was like, hey, what do you vote for? I don't want the answers to be on Twitter. I want the answers to be on the video when we read and reveal them. But I do post, and I think what I'll do next time is post the nominees as individual. Instead of making one long video announcing the nominees, I'll make short videos announcing each category. That way, I could then release them as videos that people can vote in Twitter if they wanted to get more. I think that might actually help. Alrighty, so what do we have next? We went Marvel, we went DC. Hey, I'm next with Independent, aren't I? Mr. Independent. For Best Independent Comic Book of the 1970s, our nominees were Vampirella, Cerebus, ElfQuest, once again, Star Trek Gold Key, and Creepy Magazine, and the winner by 1 vote. Just 1. Once again, Ash could have changed this around. The winner is Vampirella.
Why do I get the blame?
Because you're here.
Oh, okay.
we had it all planned to blame Dalton all night.
I know,
left.
right? But he
All right.
off. I don't know.
Hey, I appreciate the honesty.
Oh, there you go. Yeah.
Hey,
No.
hey, I came back. I was a part of this plan. So
Okay. Now this one, I got to admit, I forgot to do this on the nominees, and it was like, oh my gosh. Okay, so I went and I found like, okay, these are the biggest ones. So I put this out there. Cerebus, of course, goes on. It may actually be nominated in the 80s as well, but Vampirella, love the character. I like the 1970s. I remember Vampirella was a comic book I had to hide because I'm like 8 or 10 years old finding these, and they're a little bit racy, but they're a lot of fun. My brother voted for ElfQuest, and I know we got a lot of ElfQuest lovers in the audience because they do well in the auction.
was she drawn like Elvira back in the day?
Kind of. I actually think she looks like in the 1970s. I think she looks more like that character in Road to El Dorado that Rosie Perez voices.
Okay,
but that's just me. Let's see. We got a LK's just like Vampy. Who did you vote for, Breen?
I think I voted for Creepy.
So what made you go that direction?
Well, Creepy, to me it was more of a true anthology. I mean, Vampirella had the Vampirella story, and anybody that read that, I think his name was Jose Gonzalez. He's Neil Adams territory as far as talent, but I just thought the Creepy offered a wider variety of stories.
Okay. All right. Well, there was absolutely no love for Cerebus or Star Trek. It was Creepy, and then it was ElfQuest, and by one vote, it was Vampirella. It was 7-6 on this one, so very close. I remember Vampirella not as a comic book per se, but more like a magazine-sized magazine. Yeah, but I included it.
When did the Star Wars book start? 80s?
Star Wars was 70s. Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, it was hard to fill out, come up with independent books from the 70s because Charlton was dying. Gold Key, I think, was even gone or just down to scattered reprints by then. And
you did also have Robert Crumb in his Underground comics, but that's a little bit different than an independent. I mean, that's Robert Crumb something.
Marania's saying, I remember Vampirella not as a comic book per se, but more like a magazine-sized magazine.
He'll do that from time to time, guys.
It's a gift.
Remember, kids, like comics and magazines used to be pretty synonymous. Like comics used to be called magazines, and the only difference really is the size. But like Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was released originally. The first 3 issues were the typical magazine, quote unquote, magazine size format. Conan books used to be released the bigger size. It used to be kind of like a normal, almost like the more adult books were released the bigger size. Like it's like almost a way of like, hey, this isn't for kids. But
that's how they got around the code, because Marvel had their Curtis magazine division was very prolific in the 70s.
Here's a question for: does anybody here besides collect the Wizard magazines from the back in the day?
Yeah.
I don't collect them, but I used to buy them religiously.
Yeah, I actually bought them, read them, and they wouldn't. I never actually bagged them up and collected them. I treated them like magazines rather than comics. So, yeah, a little bit different.
Because I've seen them at my comic book store. You still sell them for like $1.
Well, what do you have for us next, there, Venkman?
All right, we're gonna go into the best new character of the 70s. And your nominees were The Punisher, Luke Cage, Power Man, Jon Stewart, Darkseid, and Swamp Thing. And you guys voted for Darkseid.
By
weird.
Yeah. Oh no. This was
by hair.
Quite a no, sir.
Really?
Not by a hair. There was only one vote for Luke Cage. Congratulations to Eric Breen for showing up. There were 2 votes on Swamp Thing, 3 for Jon Stewart and The Punisher, and then all the rest is Darkseid. And why the freaking hell not? 1, it's created by Jack Kirby, and 2, he is still considered one of, if not the greatest villain, and definitely one of, if not the greatest villain of the DC universe.
I hate him in an Odyssey right now. I just can't
He
stand
is the big scary guy. He is the big scary guy that they should have had in the Justice League movie, but they screwed that one up. But
I mean, well, yeah.
who else?
When you watch Justice League and then Scott Snyder's, and then you go watch Justice League War, the animated movie, you're like, holy crap!
Well, he's certainly not helping Justice League Odyssey sell.
That's true. The thing about Darkseid being in Best New Character of the 70s almost shines this huge light on the fact that Dr. Doom wasn't nominated for the 60s.
Well, but there's a lot of competition in the 60s.
That is true. That's
true.
But like I said, I'm not bitter that Dr. Doom wasn't nominated. I just think it was a big hole there. All righty. Brewer saying, oh, yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
Final boss. Jon Stewart didn't win. Racists.
I hear you, Maranya. I was Luke Cage's only vote.
I voted for the guy who going around killing people. You know, Punisher.
Well, at least we're gonna get him in a
So
movie.
did everybody else. They voted for Darkseid.
He'll be in the New Gods movie. Sitting on the Mobius psychiatrist couch getting analyzed.
Darkseid?
Yeah.
Well, Tom King's writing it, so
Tom King's writing it.
Yeah, and that's not the creation of the character's fault. Like,
no.
He's a cool villain for sure. Like, he's one of the most iconic DC villains. I can understand that. I'm just.
Who would you have picked out of that particular batch of people? Punisher,
Punisher, no question.
Punisher, yeah.
Punisher's had like 3 movies, a TV show. He's iconic. There's actually controversy because police and military wear his symbol. Like he's transcended comicdom. He's a great character. Whether you like him or not personally is obviously going to be, your miles may vary, but there's a character that's legitimately one of the greatest characters since the Silver Age to be created.
Well, he's been under attack a lot by certain comic book factions, including his creator,
including Jerry Conway.
What are they going to do when one of them actually unearths the story where he becomes a black man?
Oh, that'll be cool.
He did.
Oh, really?
That happened in like Punisher issue 60 and 61 or something like that.
Yeah, I'm wondering how Marvel is like. They're going to try to change the character to fit the modern societal view of what comic characters should be.
Yeah, they'll let it blow over and they'll give us what we want. They're close to it.
And as true as that is, I still like Darkseid better, says Ed Brewer, as well as 7 other people. So that big winner there.
I want them if they do Darkseid for another Justice League movie or whatever live action, I want Michael Ironside doing the voice acting.
Well, I don't know how this happened, but it looks like Garrett gets to read off another best story.
It's math, sir.
I guess.
Best story arc of the 70s, and the nominees are the Green Lantern, Green Arrow for Road Trip, Batman, Tales of the Demon, Iron Man, Demon in a Bottle, the Kree Skrull War from the Avengers, and Death of Gwen Stacy and the Amazing Spider-Man. And the winner, this is like Taylor Swift at an awards show 10 years ago. Yep. Batman, Tales of the Demon.
All righty. And by the way, I'm going to say it again. By one vote, ladies and gentlemen, did Batman Tales of the Demon win. You could have helped out Maranya. Two people who didn't vote, Jim Sorensen and Ash, could have changed this around and voted for the Demon in the Bottle. But yeah, that was the next one up. And then it was Avengers Kree Skrull. And then Spider-Man, Gwen Stacy, and then Green Lantern, Green Arrow. But Tales of the Demon, Venkman, I know you voted for this one.
No, I voted for Death of Gwen. No, Death of Gwen Stacy, man.
Oh, I thought you did. I'm sorry. But you did do a.
No, I did a nomination for it, but I ended up voting for Gwen Stacy because I was like, the Gwen Stacy had more impact on my life than Where I Shall Go.
Okay.
If it makes anyone feel better, I would not have voted for Demon in a Bottle.
Well, when I was reading these off, when I read Batman Tales of the Demon, I was waiting for Kanye West to come up and grab the award out of my hand.
Right, there you go. Oh, whoa! I know. Tales of the Demon. That's a great story. But Spider-Man, this was one of the greatest stories of all time.
Yeah, Death of Gwen Stacy would have been my pick.
Yep.
That's that mine wasn't any of those. So yeah, there really can't go wrong with that. The only thing I could make a case for not Demon in a Bottle was that for that particular storyline was it had a little bit of build up, but it was kind of like a one issue.
Mm-hmm.
They kind of wrapped it up really quick. Now the true great Tony Stark alcoholism story comes in the 80s.
Yes, we've talked about that one a lot.
Yes.
But yeah, no, Tales of the Demon's a great story. And once again, this gives us one of the most iconic villains in DC history and Batman history. And I say DC because he's been used against Ra's al Ghul.
No, I said Ubu.
Oh, okay.
Ubu doesn't get enough love.
He has been Ubu sit. He has been in other books beyond Batman. So and that itself is an excellent story as well. So you do have that. Zach saying a lot of demons are around this time around. No Claremont X-Men. No Claremont X-Men. The Proteus saga did not get nominated, which would have been in the 70s. Don't blame me at Marani. I voted for Demon in a Bottle, says okay. And she's got the broken heart. Batman always wins, says Black Cat. And was well, that sucks. Hey guys, you voted. I have to admit though, I did vote Tales of the Demon. I love the story.
Yeah, it's my only knock on on Ra's al Ghul, in the years that followed was I think now he's got a tendency of being overused. I noticed he was in 2 storylines going on at DC right now. And I said, he should be saved. And same with Darkseid. Darkseid's so overused at this point. Those characters need to be saved for special storylines.
So, the final category of the evening goes to me, and that is the best TV acting. We'll change that, of course, because that was the intent of casting. But I can see the flaw. Best TV casting was Lou Ferrigno. Nominees are Lou Ferrigno for the Hulk, Linda Carter for Wonder Woman, Vincent D'Onofrio for Kingpin, Carl Urban, Billy Butcher, and John Bernthal for The Punisher. And a lot of votes in this particular category. I certainly appreciate that. And there was a race until about halfway through. And I do believe this is one of, if not the most highest, like the biggest win. I think only Stan Lee did better as far as wins concerned. And that is Linda Carter as Wonder Woman, ladies and gentlemen. Linda Carter wins this best TV casting for Wonder Woman, and wow, that blew me away because I swear to gosh, it was like Vincent D'Onofrio, Linda. It was just like that.
Oh, if only this were a 5-man panel right now, and you know who the 5th one would.
Oh, mystery. You know why? Because Linda Carter's the one true Wonder Woman, ladies and gentlemen. Yes. There was only 2 votes that went away from either Vincent D'Onofrio or Linda Carter, and they went to Carl Urban as Billy Butcher and John Bernthal as Punisher.
Carl Urban, Billy Butcher, man.
Yeah. Engletine's older, more intimidating brother got my vote, says Black Cat. So he got my vote too. I'm going to vote within the family, and I love Linda Carter's Wonder Woman. But I have to be honest. The Vincent D'Onofrio was Kingpin. The show. I find Daredevil actually kind of slows down when Kingpin isn't the focus.
I gave Butcher my vote.
Yep.
Linda Carter, yeah, you guys are just watching for boobs, slow motion running. It's watching Baywatch.
No, she did very well, especially for the time and the stories that were coming out of Wonder Woman. She embodied that character. She did very well. I'm not going to just put it there. I got 2 votes right in the 70s. Denny O'Neill, and Linda Carter says Maranya. That might be 4. Okay, so yeah, Carl Urban though does a great job. John Bernthal does a great job. Lou Ferrigno, he did it. Hey, look, it's him, man. It ain't CGI.
Yeah.
So you got to give it up for that. And he fought a bear.
He threw it. He threw it. He threw the bear, a real grizzly bear.
Well, he at least hugged and looked like he was wrestling.
Well, I know that you've explained your original intent on the thing, but when I was voting and nominating and stuff, my thought process was all about the casting and who would best fit a role and bring it to life. And when you think about it in that aspect, you try to cast the Hulk, like Lou Ferrigno being that's crazy. Like how do you cast that? Lou Ferrigno made it happen. He made that show happen. Yeah. Right. He didn't have to give a great performance. He just had to sit on screen and go, you know, like, and you're like, hey, that's the Hulk on screen.
Yep. Now, Maranya is bringing up something I agree with about the TV show. By the way, they made an announcement. They're going to have it on Blu-ray coming out this month, I think, is the Wonder Woman TV show. The first season where it takes place in the 40s. I do like that a little bit better than I do the 70s era. But of course, that took a bigger budget, so they moved it to modern day.
Well, let's say her costume got a little skimpier as the show went on, so that would be my one reason to prefer the 70s stories.
There you go. To bring that back,
much better stories when the costume is skimpier.
What's that?
I said much better stories when the costume is skimpier.
Yes, it definitely. I mean, no, that bad Ash, bad me.
I just don't notice the plot holes in those later.
I know when Lou
Ferrigno, she was skateboarding down there.
You're right. There was the skateboard. There was the.
I totally agree though. When Lou Ferrigno ripped through that shirt right there, man, we forgot all the plot holes in that show.
There was a scene where she's in a full body wetsuit, and it is definitely
cold out.
Well, I would have to say that it must have been inspired by some desert crossing animals. I was like, oh my gosh. Yeah, definitely.
How did her lasso know she was going underwater is what I want to know when she turned around. How did she know she was,
I know, right? Yeah. I need my scuba gear outfit. Dude, let's dive in. Nah, it's pretty cool. And it's really, I think she deserves it. I mean, I can see her deserving it. I preferred Vincent D'Onofrio as Kingpin, but what you going to do? But there you go, gang. That is the 1960s, 1970s. So I because I always think, hey, how can I create more work for myself? I thought a really cool thing is, since we're doing the last 50, 60 years, that I'm going to be tallying up all these nominations, and we're going to actually figure out the best. So after we do the 80s, 90s, 2000, 2010, I'm going to have one more, which is going to take all the winners, and boom. We're going to see. But that's just an idea I threw out that popped in my head, so I'm throwing it out there. So, yeah, guys, look out for Sunday. I'm going to have the video out, and we're going to be doing the 1980s and 1990s. And I will try to share it also for the Comic Core on Twitter, so you guys don't miss it. I guess I didn't do that. Darkness Comes missed it. Jim Sorensen missed it too, which is kind of shocking. So anyway, but thank you very much for participating. Were there any surprises? Like, who are you most surprised at as far as the winner was concerned? Or
I gotta say though, I thought Jack Kirby was gonna win.
Yeah, John Romita was.
Yeah, that was the one that really went, oh, okay.
And I didn't vote for St. Langella for John.
So wait, you didn't vote for Jack Kirby? You voted for John Romita?
Yeah.
And you voted for Gil Kane because, you just wanted to give some love. You knew Jack Kirby was going to win.
Pretty much.
And that's how we could have gotten that's how we got President Trump. All right.
Well, and this is how Watchmen and Dark Knight got eliminated from the.
I know, right? All
You
right.
guys should be
Well,
politicians.
say again.
I said those guys should be politicians. That's how our politicians vote. They vote. They vote for bills. And oh, never mind. I'm not going to keep going.
Eric must have hated the Floyd Rogers episode where she wore white pants and red long sleeve blouse instead of her costume. And Black Cat says skimpy costume equals better storylines. Exhibit A, Carol Danvers, pre-Captain Marvel.
And I do want to say something real quick. Yeah, something Maranya said before. Yeah, I mentioned that. I just thought the build up for that, for the first Demon in a Bottle story, was wasn't as good as the one done in the 80s, where I thought they really did that storyline justice. I'm not trying to take anything away from the 70s one. I just think the 80s storyline was a lot better. Yeah.
And Maranya saying I was surprised at most of the 70s winners. And you guys, we're going to have another category. So it's going to be 9 per decade because we're adding on miniseries.
Yay.
Because guess what wasn't in the 1970s except for Superman something Krypton. Yeah.
World of Krypton.
World of Krypton. Yeah, World of Krypton. World of Krypton.
The Marlon Brando edition.
Yeah. All righty, gang. Well, thanks for hanging out with us, and I hope you enjoyed. You voted for them. This is what happened there, and keep an eye out for the video on Sunday for the 80s and 90s. Yay, great comics. Those are what everybody, I want comics like back in the 90s. I want comics back in the 80s. That's what I was saying when people were like, I want like 90s comics. I'm really? Why don't we just back up one more decade?
I want Chastity comics, so if you can find those. Kill comics.
90s need to be divided between Crash and pre-Crash.
Okay. Yeah.
Because it really is. That decade is like Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde decade.
Gotcha. I can see that. Don't forget the auction is tomorrow. It's still up in the air. I know I've got a JSA auction coming up, but I'm waiting for one package. If it comes in, we're going to do JSA. If not, I have I got a couple of the mystery boxes. I've got one here, and I've got a big one, actually two big ones because I'm deformed. But so we'll be opening those as well. Everything will start at $1, and just in case, I did go out and I bought a Big Dog, which will kind of be a mystery comic, but should be a lot of fun. Zach Rich is on JSA auctions. It's either this week or next week. I promise you, Zach. I know you've been waiting for this. So have I. But it's going to be.
He just gave you the name.
What?
The
JS auctions. There you go. That's actually pretty good. Yeah, you're right. Hey, if you ever find a giant-sized DC Special Muhammad Ali versus Superman, I'll bid on it. If I ever find a original Muhammad Ali versus Superman, you'll probably see it on the wall there, taking Alice Cooper's place. Yeah, I'll buy everything for $1 sold. Yeah, the starting bid is going to be $1 for everything, no matter what it is that I pull out from the box. All righty. So anyway, once again, thank you very much for hanging out. Be here tomorrow, 9 o'clock-ish Eastern for the auction. And as always, thank you very, very much for watching. Have a good time.
Good night, kids.